Hey there. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I've always thought that learning a new language is like building a whole new world.
It really is, yeah.
And today we're adding like this vital piece to that world, relationships. We're going deep, doing a deep dive into a guide.
Okay.
All about building those healthy connections. And that's something that's so important no matter what language you speak.
Absolutely, yeah. Those connections are really the bedrock of a happy life, wouldn't you say?
For sure. And this guide we're looking at, it's amazing. Like, it's full of really practical tips,
Yeah.
things you can actually use to build stronger and more meaningful relationships.
Well, and what I found fascinating was it goes beyond just, the warm, fuzzy feeling of connection. It actually gets into the science of
Oh, yeah.
why relationships are so good for us.
Oh, I loved that part.
Yeah.
It's like strong relationships are good for your heart.
Yeah.
They can even make your immune system stronger.
It's true. It's like a superpower against getting sick.
Right.
It's wild. There's all this research showing that people who have these strong social ties, they tend to have less risk of things like, anxiety,
Yeah.
depression, all those things. Have you ever noticed how just like hanging out with people you really like can actually make you feel physically better?
100%.
It's true.
Like an instant mood lift, for sure.
Totally. But to build those incredible health-boosting connections,
Yeah.
it all starts with, you need a good foundation, a strong base.
Right. And the guide actually lays out like what they call the building blocks of healthy connections.
Mhm.
So what are they? What are these building blocks?
Well, they get really specific, which I appreciate.
Oh, good.
It's things like self-awareness, mutual respect,
Yeah.
trust,
Okay.
communication, empathy.
Okay. Pretty basic. Right. Like those
Yes.
are pretty.
They are fundamental. They're like the essential ingredients. But here's
Yeah.
the thing. They don't just happen like automatically, We have to work on them. We have to cultivate them.
So it's almost like a garden.
Well, in a building.
More like a garden. We have to tend to it.
Yeah, we have to like take care of these elements and help them grow, right?
I love that analogy.
Mhm.
And just like a garden, each element needs some attention.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, the guide talks about self-awareness.
Okay.
And it's not just about knowing like your favorite color or your favorite
Yeah.
food. It's
Yeah.
like deeper. It's understanding your values, your needs, your boundaries even.
And how you react in certain situations.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know like what you need, what you want.
right.
How are you going to tell someone else? right?
Exactly.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't- And then there's the mutual respect thing.
Yeah.
Which again, like seems pretty basic.
It does, but
It's a two-way street.
it is.
Like it's not just me respecting you, it's you respecting me. okay?
Absolutely. And it really comes down to valuing the other person,
Uh-huh.
valuing their thoughts, their opinions,
Our feelings.
their feelings,
Yeah.
even if you don't always agree with them.
It makes me think that must be like especially important when you're learning a new language.
That's so true.
You know, like you're always interacting with people from different cultures and backgrounds. And so being respectful of those differences has got to be so key.
It's huge. And it's like, that's actually how you build trust,
oh,
right?
yeah.
When you show someone that you respect their culture, their language,
Yeah.
you're saying, hey, I see you and I
Yeah.
value you.
Yeah.
And that builds trust, which then lets you connect on a deeper level.
So maybe learning English isn't just about like the words themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's also about like how to connect with people in this whole new way.
I think so, yeah. And as that trust builds, then you can start to have that really open,
Yeah.
honest communication, which is another one of those really important building blocks.
Mm.
Right. Now, when we talk about communication, I thought this guide got really interesting because
Yeah.
it didn't just talk about like the talking part.
Right.
It was more about the listening part.
And that's where active listening comes in.
Yeah. Active listening. What does that mean?
Well, it means you're not just hearing the words, you're really trying to understand the meaning,
Yeah.
the nuances, the emotion behind the
I
words.
never thought about it like that.
And think about this as an English learner. That's already what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're paying close attention. You're trying to understand everything. You're
Yes, it
asking
is.
for clarification when you need to.
I have to do that all the time.
And those are the skills that help you be a good communicator and a good friend and a good partner and a good,
A good everything.
yeah, it's all connected.
Wow.
So the guide doesn't just talk about the why, it actually gives you the how-to.
Yeah, it's full of really practical tips,
It is.
which I love. For instance, it talks about spending quality time together,
Yeah.
which seems pretty basic,
Yeah.
but I think it's really easy to get caught up in like the everyday craziness of life
Oh, totally.
and forget to really connect with people.
Yeah, we think we are connecting.
Yeah.
But are we really present, you know?
Right.
The guide is asking us to be more deliberate,
Yeah.
intentional. Set aside some time, even if it's just for a little bit, to
Yeah.
just be with someone.
Yeah. I remember there was a part where it said like, put away your phone, turn off the TV,
Yes.
and actually like focus on the person that you're with.
Be present, yeah. It's like the best gift you can give someone.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be something big either.
No, it could be cooking a meal together,
Going for a walk.
having a conversation, yeah.
Yeah, without the distractions.
Yeah.
Just, being present and really making the other person feel like they're seen and they're heard, which I think is so crucial
Absolutely.
to any relationship. I used to think I was a really good listener,
Mm-hmm.
but I realized I was like constantly interrupting people or trying to like offer solutions
Before they even finish.
before they even finish talking.
Yeah,
And it wasn't until I really made an effort to just
just listen.
be present in the conversation
Yeah.
that things started to change in my relationships.
That's a great example of how self-awareness, like we were talking about, really plays a role in how we connect.
Yeah. This whole guide is full of these like aha moments,
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of aha moments, another tip that really jumped out at me was express appreciation.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
It sounds so simple.
It does, but
Right, but the guide really stresses that telling someone you appreciate them,
yeah.
whether it's something big or small, can go a long way.
It's like a deposit
Yeah.
in that relationship bank account.
I love that analogy.
Keep it topped up.
Yeah. And it goes back to that active listening thing too.
Yes.
It's not just hearing the words,
It's paying attention.
but really like focusing on what the person's saying, asking clarifying questions, making them feel heard.
And that's something, again, that you're already doing as an English learner.
That's true.
You have to pay attention to understand what people are saying.
I do, yeah.
You have to ask for clarification.
Sometimes.
Those are the same skills that make you a good communicator.
So it's like learning English is giving me this like secret advantage
I think so, yeah.
in building these relationships, which is cool.
It's like a bonus skill.
Yeah, I love that.
You get the language and the connection.
Right. But what about when things get tough?
Ah.
Because no relationship is perfect, right?
Of course not, no. And the guide acknowledges that
Sure.
it has a whole section on dealing with the rough patches.
Okay, now this is where it gets interesting.
This is the real stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It
Yeah.
talks about conflict resolution, how to manage expectations,
Yeah.
how to rebuild trust when it's been broken,
Right, the nitty gritty.
the messy stuff.
Yeah,
That's part of being human.
yeah. And there's this one quote from this section that I just, like, it really stuck with me.
Oh yeah, what is it?
It said, a relationship is not about perfection, but about growth. And I think that's such a good reminder that,
It's a journey, not a destination.
yeah,
What?
like we're all works in progress, and our relationships are too.
Absolutely. We're always learning,
Yeah.
evolving, both as individuals and together.
I love that.
It's a journey, but we don't have to take it alone, which is, something else I thought was good about this guide.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stop at, kind of general advice. It gives strategies for all these different types of relationships.
Oh, that's right. It talks about friendships, family relationships.
Romantic relationships.
Yeah, romantic relationships, even work relationships.
Mhm.
Like all these different ways that we connect with people.
So it's like having the right tool
Yeah,
for the job.
a whole toolkit. I love that. And, since you're learning English, I thought maybe we could focus on how these tips can help you build relationships
Oh, sure.
in like English-speaking communities,
That's a good idea.
or even on like those online language learning platforms,
Yeah, that's a great point, because clear communication, it's key in any relationship.
Yeah.
But it's even more important when you have those language barriers,
Right. Totally.
So the guide suggests things like speaking slowly and clearly,
Yeah.
using simple language,
Which is what I need to do for sure.
and not being afraid to, ask if you don't understand something.
It's good to know that even native speakers like appreciate that.
Oh, they do. They'd much rather you clarify than
Yeah.
just sort of nod along
Right.
and pretend.
And the guide also talks about how important nonverbal communication is,
Oh, absolutely.
like body language.
Especially when there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
That's when those nonverbals become even more important.
So even if I don't have all the right words yet, I can still like use my smile and my my gestures and kind of my overall energy
Exactly.
to connect with people.
Yeah, and that ties into, another point they make, which is to be patient
Well, yeah.
with yourself. Like learning a new language, building relationships. It all takes time.
Right.
It's okay if you make mistakes, you stumble over your words.
It's all part of the process.
Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves sometimes.
To be
Perfect.
Yeah.
And it's not realistic.
Right.
And people, for the most part, they're more interested in connecting with you as a person than critiquing your English.
I like that.
So, one of the things the guide suggests, which I thought was fun, is using humor
Oh, that's a good idea.
to break the ice,
Yeah.
to kind of lighten the mood, make people feel more comfortable.
Because I've definitely noticed, like, even a corny joke can sometimes
Oh, totally.
make people, just relax a bit.
Totally. Shows your personality, too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're not taking yourself too seriously.
Right.
You're here to have a good time.
I like that. And I like that the guide also talks about finding common interests.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like whether it's hobbies or movies or music or even,
The food, travel.
a shared love of learning English.
Absolutely. And that's where, those online language learning platforms can be so helpful, because you're automatically connecting with people who share that interest.
That's true. I've met some really great people
Oh, me too.
through those platforms.
Yeah. And it's a great way to, to practice in a safe, supportive environment.
It's like a training ground for, real world interaction.
Exactly. But even with all these tips and strategies, what happens when it goes wrong? The guide talks about red flags.
Yeah, how do you even recognize those? Yeah, especially in a new language, a new culture.
That's such a good question. And, they say the most important thing is to pay attention to how you feel
How I feel.
in the relationship. Do you feel respected?
Okay.
Do you feel valued? Do you feel safe?
So it's not just about, like, the words they're saying, but
It's the overall vibe.
the vibe of
Exactly. And if something feels off, if you're constantly feeling drained or unhappy in that relationship, that's a sign that something's not right.
And they actually mention some specific, like, red flags to watch out for. Like a lack of respect, controlling behavior, constant criticism.
Yeah. And those can be tricky because
I was going to say.
what might be normal in one culture
Right.
could be a red flag in another.
Totally.
So that's where it's so important to ask questions, to clarify any misunderstandings, be open to learning.
Yeah. And also, I guess, just trust my gut.
Oh, absolutely. Your intuition is powerful.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
If something feels wrong,
Yeah.
it probably is, even I don't know exactly why.
Trust that feeling, yeah. But what happens if you make a mistake? If you misinterpret something or you accidentally offend somebody.
Oh, I'm sure that's going to
It
happen.
happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Especially in a new culture.
Totally.
The key is to be willing to apologize.
Oh, good.
To learn from it.
Yeah.
To move on.
So it's okay to not be perfect,
It is, yeah.
which is a relief.
We're all a work in progress.
Right.
And, remember, building relationships, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's not about, getting it right all the time. It's about that journey
Yeah.
of learning and growing along the way.
So even if I stumble, even if I make mistakes, the important thing is to keep trying, to keep reaching out to people and keep connecting.
That's it. You got it?
Okay, good. Wow, this whole deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
it's really changed my perspective.
Oh,
I'm starting to see, it's like all these different pieces fit together. The learning English, the building relationships, the taking care of my well-being.
yeah.
Like, it's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as you're going through this, as you're learning, remember, you're not alone, okay?
Yeah.
There are so many resources out there.
Okay.
You've got your online communities, language exchange partners,
Yeah.
even, therapists who specialize in intercultural communication.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah, there are people who really get it,
Okay.
So,
So if I'm struggling,
yeah.
I can reach out to.
I can reach out, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like I'm just figuring this out
Oh, I know.
all on my own. So it's nice to be reminded that there's this whole
Your network.
this network of people who who get it.
Yeah. And, aside from those more formal things, just remember the simple act
Yeah.
of reaching out to people,
Uh-huh.
expressing your interest in connecting, putting yourself out there.
Right.
You might be surprised at how receptive people are.
You're right. And I think I let fear get in the way sometimes, like I'm afraid to
It's understandable.
make a mistake, or I have that self-doubt.
It's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
We all feel that way.
But maybe that's another area where I can apply, what I'm
Yeah.
learning from this guide.
Absolutely.
Like, just like building any relationship,
Yeah.
building confidence
Yeah.
also takes practice and a willingness to,
Get out of that comfort zone.
to get out of that comfort zone.
A little bit.
I like that.
Right? And, remember, every interaction,
Yeah.
every conversation, it's an opportunity
Yeah.
to practice those skills.
Okay.
To build your confidence
Yeah.
and to forge those connections.
Okay. Wow. I really feel like
Mm-hmm.
this whole conversation has shifted my perspective.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm not just learning a language anymore.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to build like this whole new world
Uh,
of relationships. And that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
It is. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
There will be challenges. There will be rewards.
Sure.
But it's the connections that make it all worthwhile.
Protections. Yeah.
That enrich our lives and make us feel, truly alive.
This guide is really amazing. It's packed with so much good stuff.
It is, yeah. Lots to think about.
I feel like I have this like whole new toolbox, not just for, learning English,
Mm-hmm.
but for connecting with people
Yeah.
in a much like deeper way.
Well, and like any tools, you got to practice.
You have to practice, right?
To use them well.
So the more I
I
do it,
Yeah, the more you use these principles,
Well,
the more natural it'll become.
it's like any skill, right?
Exactly.
Like the more you do it, the more confident you get.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Oh,
Like there's no one right way to build a relationship.
yeah, that's true.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Totally.
So it's about finding what feels right for you.
It feels authentic.
Yeah,
right?
feels genuine. Yeah.
I think I get so caught up in trying to do things the right way.
I know the rules.
Yeah, the rules, that I kind of forget to just like be myself.
Yeah, let it flow.
Yeah, let it flow naturally.
And remember, it's a two-way street too.
Oh, right.
It's not just about what you do. It's
Yeah.
about being open to what the other person's doing.
Yeah,
To their efforts to connect,
yeah.
their kindness.
Oh, that's a good point. That reciprocity thing.
Yes.
That really resonated with me from the guide.
Yeah,
It's not just about giving, it's about receiving,
it's both.
which I think can be hard for some people.
It's true,
Yeah.
especially if you're, very independent,
Yeah, very independent, yeah.
used to doing things on your own.
It can feel vulnerable, I think, sometimes to let people help.
It can, but the guide reminds us that receiving is just as important as giving. Oh,
Okay.
it's a way of honoring the other person,
Yeah.
and it strengthens that bond.
So it's almost like this dance.
It is
This give and take.
back and forth. Yeah.
A balance between, offering what I have
Yeah.
and letting the other person share what they have.
Exactly. And as you're on this path, learning English, building relationships, it's a journey,
Right.
not a destination.
I like that.
There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs.
Sure.
You'll have times where you're like, yes, I'm nailing it.
Yeah.
And times where it's like, ugh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But it's the overall experience.
The whole journey.
The whole journey.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
I think I get so caught up in the goal sometimes.
It's easy to do that.
Yeah.
Like I need to be fluent by this date.
Yeah. I need to
have this many friends by this time.
Yeah,
And you forget to just
it's a process.
The process, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So maybe it's less about, reaching that destination and
Yeah.
more about like who I become along the way.
I love that. Who you become and who you connect with
Yeah.
along the way. Because, those relationships are what stay with you.
Right.
Even after, you've reached whatever that goal was.
Right.
The language goal.
I'm starting to see that now.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's not just about the language itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like opening myself up
Yes.
to all these new possibilities, experiences, connections.
It's a whole world.
Yeah, it is a whole world. And that's just amazing to me.
And as you're doing that, as you're going on this adventure, remember you have so much support.
Okay.
Okay. You've got your fellow English learners.
Yeah.
You've got your teachers.
Yeah.
You've got online communities.
Yeah.
You've even got us here at the Deep Dive.
Oh.
You know, we're all rooting for you.
That means a lot.
Okay. There are people who want to see you succeed.
Thank you.
And, you know, never underestimate the power of just like reaching out, just saying, hey, I want to connect.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people are open to that.
You're right. I do need to put myself out there more.
Yeah, you got this.
I think I let fear hold me back sometimes.
I know, it's scary.
But maybe that's just another
Yeah, it's a challenge.
another area to work on.
Like building a muscle.
Like that confidence muscle.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So every interaction,
Yeah.
every conversation,
Uh-huh.
it's like a rep.
Oh, okay.
You know, building that confidence,
I like it.
building those connections.
Okay.
So keep practicing, keep putting yourself out there,
I will.
and keep believing in yourself. You got this.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I feel so much more confident
Good.
and inspired to continue this journey.
I'm glad to hear that.
And thanks to all of our listeners for joining us on this deep dive
Yes, thank you for being here.
into building healthy relationships.
It's been a pleasure talking about this with you.
Me too. And until next time, keep learning, keep connecting.
And keep diving deep